Branding and promotional strategies that actually work. Today on BCP. Hey there, Proud Nation, and welcome back to another episode of the Blue Collar Proud Show. It's the show that's all about having and living the blue collar business dream. You've got a dream about where you want to take things, and we believe you can get there. And Taylor and I want to be a part of that journey towards your success every single week. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Carter Harkins, and with me across the table here, bright-eyed, shiny, and having a fantastic day is Taylor Hill.
That's right. I always have a fantastic day. But it's just better when we're talking on BCP.
Absolutely. No, it's good.
Yeah.
You made a statement the other day that the difference between a regular day and a fantastic day was a decision. And I thought, wow, that's a great, great way of putting it.
Well, it's funny because I actually heard somebody, it's probably been a couple of months ago, saying, you really do have a choice. And so if you look at everything as a challenge, or you can look at everything as an adventure.
I like that.
It's a really different thing. And what she talked about is one day getting up and going to a meeting and having her two little kids in tow and go outside, and she had a flat tire. She said, and I had a choice. Was it a challenge? You could say it was, but we turned it into an adventure. So I talked to the kids about what we needed to do and how we get to where we got to get to and who we needed to call and all that kind of stuff. And they got into it and suggested things, and they just turned it into a fun kind of a deal. And she said, I was late for my appointment. They understood. I had a flat tire. I said, it didn't ruin my day at all.
And didn't stress the kids out.
Didn't stress the kids out.
As you were talking, I just remembered my mother used to do that exact same thing. I did not even remember that until now. I can actually hear her saying it. I'm going to totally start doing this with my kid. I'm just going to do that. That's a great idea.
It was awesome. So, so now it's just like turn it into an adventure.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, let me talk about another adventure coming from our sponsor, Closing Commander. Contractors, somewhere in your office right now is a pile of open estimates and proposals, and not a single person in your company can tell you if any of them are ever going to turn into closed business, right? Right? I'm right. We've all got it. There is serious cash trapped in that stack, and it is time to start unlocking it today with automated sales follow-up system created by Closing Commander. By automating your follow-ups using Closing Commander, you can do what many businesses are doing, closing 15, 20, even 30% more of those open estimates and proposals in your business. Some in our our Commanders Club have even closed 6 figures of additional revenue in less than 6 months. Closing Commander is simple to use and easy to navigate and has all the tools you need to manage and track your follow-up activities. Set up your whole team to manage their own sales, or you can run it all through the office email. Closing Commander works the way you do. So get rid of the stack. Start unlocking the cash that's trapped in your estimates today. Listeners of the Blue Collar Proud Show can get a special offer if you sign up right now using the link in the show notes or in the Blue Collar Proud app, and you will get your first month completely free. Use the link to sign up today or go to www.closingcommander.com to learn more. Do it now. Okay, cool. So we're talking about a subject today that's it's come up before. Mm-hmm. We talk about, we own a marketing company, and the history of that marketing company, we actually used to do branding. Mm-hmm. So, that was a big part of what we did. It was more creative services than it was traditional marketing. And so as part of the discussion of marketing, we talk a lot about branding. We talk a lot about how to promote your business, how to market it. But I don't know anybody that can talk about some of those specific things like our guest today. So I'm excited about this conversation. One of the things, the reasons that we think this is important is we know that there's a lot of competition out there.
Well, and just note, we have a client that's a plumber out on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And just this is in his county.
Yeah.
He says he's got 49 licensed plumbers that are in direct competition with him.
Yeah.
Now think about that. You're in one county, and there's a lot of people in those counties out there. I mean, it's granted. We have some clients that have a 600 square mile to try to get 1 million people. And we have other people that are in one county and there's 3 million people in that county. Right. So it does matter. But when you look at that and you're trying to market in an area
with 849 licensed contractors looking for the same business you're looking for.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So the need to stand out becomes just incredible. I mean, it's paramount that you stand out, that people choose you over other people. And how do you make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Yeah. So I want to just ask you this, because you have done a lot of branding.
When we started out the business, absolutely.
Yeah, and even before then, as a freelancer,
sure.
That's what you were doing. Is there like one thing that you see that is a common mistake that people often make that you can kind of just say, hey, don't make this?
Yeah, let me think. So in contractor businesses, oftentimes business owners will fall in love with the logo before they've put it through the paces that it has to go through. Mm-hmm. And one of those challenges is, if you're a home services business, then that logo is going to go on your truck, and it's got to pass what I began to call the 60 mile an hour test. Mm-hmm. If you can't stand and watch a truck zoom by at 60 miles an hour and read the logo, understand what it is, whatever picture or icon you've chosen or whatever, if it's not clearly legible and readable and digestible, if it's not meaningful to the person who's observing it on the side of the truck, then you might as well have just painted the truck white. I mean, for all the good it's going to do you, it's got to pass the 60 mile an hour test. So that means that larger fonts, not a whole lot of, if you've got a super long name, ABC, electrical, plumbing, engineering, and dog sitting services, then, that's probably too long to try to stick on the side of the truck as your logo. Maybe you have a shortened version of that logo. So we get into talking about different logo sizes, different logo orientations, mm-hmm. a shorter logo versus a longer logo, or in other words, a logo that incorporates everything, including the limited comma ink at the end or whatever, the actual business name, but also mm-hmm. one that's just more what you go by or what you're known as, mm-hmm. so that you can shorthand it. So I think that's the 60 mile an hour test to answer your question. That's probably the one.
Okay, well, cool. Well, I know that our guest is going to have a whole lot more to say about that.
Absolutely. She is the person that we rely on for, getting our promotional stuff done. A lot of our clients rely on her as well. She is well regarded as she calls herself the brandmom. She's the one that helps you figure out what you're doing wrong and how to get right with your brand and your promotions. She knows more than almost anybody else I know regarding this. She and her husband own a business called Proforma Printelligence here in Nashville, Tennessee. And we wanted to bring her to you today just to have this conversation. So please welcome to the show, Kimble Bosworth. Kimble Bosworth, welcome.
Thanks.
It's good to have you.
I can't believe it's the first time. I've known you guys forever.
Forever. You're right here in Nashville, and we've never had you on to talk about this subject, which is just almost unforgivable, really.
Really, it is.
Well, I'm blaming both of you. So,
well,
I'm kidding.
This is going to be a good discussion. I think we're really going to get some insight. This is one of those topics that everybody kind of has their guy, the person that they go to for print materials, and like every time they need to order a business card or something like that. But there's so much more that can be done. And one of the things I've always appreciated about you, and one of the reasons that we're finally getting around to having you on the show, is because we realized during a production meeting one time, you know what? The person who needs to talk about this, the person who thinks outside the box reliably and has really helped a lot of our clients move the needle with regard to these things is Kimble Bosworth. So that's why you're here. And to be able to talk about print materials, talk about promotional materials, talk about the fundamentals, like some of the big challenges that you have. Let's just start with like the thing I know is probably going to be your number one gripe, because in the pecking order, or in the order of the way things go, right? Somebody who starts a business, they design a logo, then they need to put that logo on stuff, and so you get the logo.
Their cousin designed the logo.
Exactly. So let's talk about how logo design, backing up to that step, how that's so important to get right, because it it goes on everything.
It does. Can we first have a disclaimer
Sure.
for your audience?
Yeah.
They may be easily offended. They should not come to me for these answers if they're easily offended, because I call myself a brand mom.
A brand
So
ma.
I'm the one who is whipping those brand kids into shape. I'm the one who's going to overindulge them when they need to be overindulged, but I'm also going to take away the car keys when they need the car keys taken away when they become an ornery teenager. I'm going to keep them relevant when they become a little bit mature. And then I'm going to wrangle them when they're kids. And that the stage we're talking about right now is when you're a kid and you're running around hyperactive and you don't know what to do or who to focus on or where to focus. And you're just kind of reaching up your arms for help, like when you're a baby and you take your first steps. So that's when the brand usually comes to us. And it's my job not to be the brand's friend, but to be the brand's guide. And it's a little bit of social work, and I'm kind of sometimes bossy about it. But step one is getting your logo in every single format that you will need it. You can't just think about a logo for a TV commercial or for the side of your truck or for your business card, because they're all different sizes. So there's a thing called vector art.
Yes.
That is a resizable logo that is actually stretchable in aspect ratio for whatever I need to put it on.
Yeah.
I need that.
Right.
If you haven't gotten that, if you send me a JPEG that's just an image file that is super low resolution, and I try to put it on your truck or a banner or something larger than your business card or your website, it's going to be grainy. And you're going to blame me, but it's not my fault. It's the fault of the person who sent me the logo or the person who designed the logo and didn't design it in every format that it needed to be designed.
Yeah.
So the first thing you ask for as a business owner is vector art.
Vector art. And when you're getting a logo done, you should really find a designer who isn't going to just give you a logo file like a JPEG or, one of these kind of bitmap files, but who's actually going to spend the time crafting what we call a brand guideline document. That would be something that specifies how this logo should be used and where certain versions of the logo would be most appropriate. It'll cover things as complicated as, the spacing that should be around the logo, so that it can sit where it needs to sit. And we see this all the time in the really big brands. I mean, I've done work for Nationwide, and when I got their brand guidelines, it was very specific. Like the most complicated and specific guidelines I think I've ever seen for a corporate brand, but it was there. And to violate those guidelines meant that, first of all, as a designer, you were never going to get more business, from them. But second of all, they were going to ask you to rework it, and everything had to be approved and meet that guideline as closely as possible. So, it's necessary, but what it does is it protects your company's image in the world on everything that logo is going to go on, so that it looks appropriate and people begin to recognize it when they see it. If it's treated and trashed, and done 6 ways from Sunday, and that's not quite the blue, but it's close enough, and you look at it and it's 18 shades off, that's a big deal, and it should be a big deal. And as a business owner, you really shouldn't accept less than that. So what you're talking about is getting that step right, so that everything else, goes. Like I'm thinking, for example, if you're going to put a logo on a pin and your logo is this big blocky square thing, and that's the only version of it you have, then it's not going to go on a pin very well, right?
You have a 0.75 inch high, pretty much max area, if it wraps around the pin, that you can fit that logo on.
Yeah.
And usually it's only a quarter of an inch.
Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate a minute.
Sure.
Because as a business owner, I've got 570,000 things that I got to get done. And I'm not thinking about colors, brand, logos. I'm not thinking about any of that stuff. I just need something to slap on a business card and get started.
Right.
Get started. Okay? So if that's me, when do I need to go back and rework a logo or redo? What is the perfect time? If I haven't thought about any of the stuff that you guys have been talking about, when should I start thinking about that and maybe doing a redo? Because now I've got my business cards out there. I've got everything out there. Am I making so much money a year? Am I doing something else? What is it?
The minute that you start delegating to anybody else is the minute you need to get your logo ready for everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you are big enough to delegate,
Okay.
that's when you're big enough to treat your brand right.
I like that. That's a great way of thinking
great.
about it. Yeah. And it's, it doesn't have to be super costly. And I know that you're a source for logo design. Talk about that process and the way it works for you, because you've got the big designers as well as those that can do smaller projects and make it affordable.
Yeah, we sit in the middle of our customers and our manufacturers. And some of those manufacturers are designers. Some of them are t-shirt printers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them print wraps for trucks and install them. But sitting in the middle, we know hundreds, if not thousands, of those people. Our job is to be the interpreter between the brand and where they are right now, and to have that 15 to 30-minute conversation about where are you in your business, what do you want to do with this brand, what do you want to do, what design do you have now and where do you want to take it. It's not a quick process, unfortunately, because we've got to really nail down everything that you're potentially going to need and scale into what can we afford right now. So the process looks a little bit like that 15 to 30-minute conversation with the business owner about where they want to go and how fast they want to get there. And then we match them up with the right designer. So if we know that you're 5 years away from becoming Coca-Cola, then we're not going to refer you to the Coca-Cola ready designer. Mm-hmm. We're going to refer you, we know what your budget is because you've told us. So we're going to match make the right designer for where you are right now. And then as you scale and grow, for example, we start with someone with their logos for shirts, cars, pens, stationery, all those business essentials, the few things you give away to help people remember you later on, sports schedules, things like that. That logo can be one simple design of a logo. But when it gets to the pen, we got to have a horizontal version. So why not right up front, for a very low price, let's find the designer who's going to get you the vertical, the horizontal, the one color, and the full color. Doing those 4 versions instead of just one version only costs you a little bit more, not significantly much. Going back later and starting over on the versions costs a lot more. So if we knock that out early, then we have everything in place until you get to be about a teenager. And then we can work on what happens next. And every brand, you may not realize this, but if you look back, for example, at the large brand logos, you may not even see the subtle differences that happen because of trends and target demographic research. Logos shift a tiny bit every few years. And if you go look at Home Depot or Coke
Taco
or
Bell,
Pepsi or Taco Bell, they all have shifted a little bit more away from that kind of original 50s look to their current 20s look.
So talk to us a little bit about some of the places online, because there's a lot of places that you're able to go today and actually source designers and that, and it's kind of a big deal. And I see it over and over and over again in forums. Yeah, just go here or just go there. What are the things people need to know if that's what they're choosing to do, and what are the pitfalls?
So the hardest part of going to those people online is knowing what to ask for, because those people are answering exactly what you request. If you have a really thorough, well thought out, good request, you're going to get back exactly what you want. If you don't, you're going to waste a lot of time looking at a lot of stuff you don't want. How you communicate is so much more important than how good the designer is. Those forums are great for designers to get stuff for their portfolio. They like being a part of them because they get stuff for their portfolio. They don't make a lot of money on it. It's kind of a headache, but realize they don't make a lot of money on it, and it's kind of a headache. So you're treated a little bit like they don't make a lot of money on it, and it's kind of a headache.
Right.
So be ready for that.
Yeah.
Because that's the treatment you're going to get. Because you're dealing with someone online, you don't notice it as much, which is great. And if you're limited on the budget, it's a perfect way to work. But make sure you're asking for vector art. Make sure you're asking for all the versions. Let them know what you're going to be putting this thing on so they have a good understanding of where the logo is going to look best. If you know you want to have black polo shirts for everybody in your office and you've got a orange logo, you're going to look a little Halloween. So you should probably warn the person who's picking the color for your logo that it's going on a black shirt.
Yeah.
So those kind of things, the more you can think about that stuff, the better off you're going to be in that experience.
Yeah. Yeah. They're relying on you to have the expertise they need, to describe the brand, talk about what the visuals need to look like, and then they just execute. Whereas working with a designer who's going to approach it from a more custom one-on-one conversation, they're going to have that expertise and be able to guide you through that process of getting that information from you, asking questions, working through, finding out, discovering what that brand should be so that they can, do that a little bit better. You pay for that. And designers that can do that for you and help not only execute but discover, that's money well spent.
If you can build a story for your brand with your designer, you both win. Because then you've done a lot more than just get ink that you're going to put on paper and material. You've gotten your vision, mission statements.
Right.
And they're built into your brand. If you bake that stuff in, your brand's going to be a lot stronger than if you just throw something on paper.
Oh, that's so true. All right, so fast forward. We've got the logo covered. Now we're putting it on stuff. What are some of the things you see for local service businesses? The tired old stuff, the brand new, really interesting things, some of the surprises that maybe you've seen, things that went better than expected, or
So let's start with where you put your money first.
Okay.
Because you don't have a lot of money at first. You're starting up a business, you've got a limited budget. It always amazes me how much this stuff costs, and I do this for a living. I mean, I don't know that I could have spent $1,500 on my first order of polo shirts, but sometimes you have to. So when you're doing stuff like that, the key things you need to think about are, I need something to give somebody, a lot of people, that I'm just meeting. That's your business card. Make it interesting. Make it something they can write on one side of it so they can write down where they met you so they have a little reminder. Make it something they can write on. If your business card is super smooth, glossy, UV finish, it's going to leave fingerprints all over it and nobody can write on it. So it might look good when you first take it out of the box, but it's not going to last good. So you've got to kind of think about that stuff. So once you've got your thing you're going to hand out to people, where are you most of the time? If you're a service industry and you're going to people's homes, might be a good idea to have something to drop off at every other home within walking distance of the one you just went to.
Yep.
Just get them a door hanger or a little giveaway that cost you next to nothing that you can say, hey, I served your neighbor. How about I serve you too?
Yep.
And then you've got a built-in, baked-in referral because they obviously can ask the neighbor. So as long as you're doing a good job, that's going to get you exposure. The next thing is the thing you wear. Be really cautious about the thing you wear. You can buy the $3.50 polo and stick a $2.50 logo on it, but the first time that snags on the side of your tool chest, you're going to buy another $3.50 polo. So find the one that's snag proof, spend a little bit more money on that, something under $20 each, buy one or two, clean them a lot until you can afford more. You can buy really small quantities of clothing that looks really good and wear it everywhere so that people see your logo out there. That's your first stuff. A magnet for the side of your truck instead of wrapping your whole truck. Something that's going to be money saving. And then as you get bigger, budget for that stuff. Partner with a brand agency that actually knows all the things you could potentially need. Build your wish list. Just like you do with your business, you kind of build a wish list and you say, all right, when I can afford it, the first thing I'm getting is an accountant. Well, when I can afford it, the first thing I'm getting is apparel for all my guys.
Yeah.
So build the wish list, figure out what the budget is, and then you'll know when you can afford it and go spend that money on that then. Just ease your way into it.
That's great advice.
So what are some of the products that you like right now that you think, wow, that's really innovative?
So the most interesting thing I see right now is people are overworked. Everybody is working too much, and they all want this work-life balance thing that's evasive. If I'm your customer and I'm coming to you at an event and you give me something that maybe I can spend some more time with my kids and do, or that's going to entertain my
Yeah.
child, I love you because you just all of a sudden gave me a way to have that work-life balance. So a lot of the things we see people giving away, coloring books, even adult coloring books, which give adults a sense of sanity as
Yeah.
well, which sometimes they need,
Yep.
are super popular right now. Fidget spinners, any of those kind of puzzle game things that incorporate the logo, usually incorporated in some kind of a full color design, but also are a plaything. So we're seeing a lot of beach balls right now. We're seeing a lot of, this fun stuff that frisbees and, things that are about having an active life and doing things with your friends.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
So that's kind of the latest trend. And then the other trends are in decorating techniques. Apparel has gotten a lot better decoration techniques now. There's this thing called butter wash where you can take a relatively scratchy, might find it in a thrift store shirt
Yeah.
and put this wash on it, and it's still a low price shirt. The wash doesn't cost as much as the high price shirt, and all of a sudden you've got something that's super soft that you're going to fight over.
Huh.
So yeah, there's
Interesting.
some really neat techniques coming out.
That's cool. Now, I know you've had a few things that you've done for clients. I know Mark Stoner, you've worked with him. He's been on our show several times. You helped him in his business, Ashbusters, and I remember you telling me about a flashlight.
Yeah. So we did a giveaway. We didn't really give it a ton of thought. Basically, what we decided was this was going to be for a home show. We needed it. It was most likely going to go to women who were kind of taking care of the house care stuff at the same time that they were juggling job, kid care,
Yep.
all of that. So we wanted something that was going to be super convenient for them. So we found this magnetic flat flashlight. It could be mailed because it was flat. It had a big imprint surface because it was flat. And he started giving these things out. Well, people kept coming back and asking for another one. He's like, what's going on here? He calls me the next week. He's like, Kimble, I need to order another order of these flashlights. I just found out that it's great for women for in their purse because it has this little cord on the end of it. So people are hanging it on the handle of their purse, lighting up the inside of their huge bag, and helping them find stuff. So I'm going to start giving everyone 2 of them.
Wow.
I have
that
one
thing-
on my refrigerator.
Yeah, that thing has great traction. And it's about thinking about it from your customer's perspective.
Yeah.
What's going to make the person who's calling me remember me?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
being in a woman's purse, you can't find. I had a financial advisor who I worked with who worked exclusively with women. She printed her business card on a rectangular shaped nail file with a mirror on the back.
Yeah. That's going in the
She's
purse.
no longer
Brilliant.
a financial advisor, but I still have her nail file.
Wow. Wow, that's
Yeah.
cool. So you're thinking about it from, and I think that's important. Oftentimes business owners only can think about their business from their perspective, what they want their customers to do. And so they go about looking at promotional products in ways that are from their perspective and not their customer's perspective. And what you're saying is have a little empathy, step into the customer's shoes for a minute, think about how they perceive you and what their needs are, not just for your services, but in life in general. What are the things that I can help them with? What are some things that I can put my brand on, but make their life better by giving it to them?
I have a great story about that. I had a customer tiny little customer, she orders about $300 a year. She called me one day. She's like, Kimble, I need a pen, and I need it fast. I'm like, all right, I don't really believe you need a pen. Where are you going? She goes, I'm going to be able to get in front of all the people who send me referrals. They're all financial advisors. We're going to this big thing with all these financial advisors, and they refer me all the time. What can I give them? I said, well, how old are they? They're in their 50s. Well, are they male or female? They're mostly male. What do they do all day? Sit at their desk and read fine print. I go, great. You don't need a pen. You need a ruler with a magnifying glass in the middle of it they can scroll down a page with and magnify the line that they're reading as they read it. And on that ruler, you can print a ton of stuff like, hey, you should check us out and see how we measure up. We rule.
Yeah.
So she goes to the event and she hands out her ruler, and it's this very exclusive. There's 10 people there. They get to make their decision about who they want to buy from right there. She sends me an email afterwards. She said, Kimble, one of the guys came up to me afterwards, said, I'm going to do business with you. I said, why? He said, because you're the ruler and a bag of pens.
Wow. That's awesome. That is a great story. And looking at the time, we're going to have to end it right there. But this has been incredibly practical for our customers to understand what they should be thinking about, the order in which they need to be thinking about it, what those priorities need to be so that they can be a lot sharper out there in the world. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So over the years, we've had a lot of conversations about the place of branding, right? The proper place of branding. Because of my background, I tend to look at everything through the lens of branding. I brand everything. I can't hardly have a conversation without, making it a brand or making it something, trying to make it more memorable. And, while that's all fun and games and cute and whatever, you challenged me as a marketer, in saying, branding has a place, but it's not everything. And branding has to serve the purpose of the business or the business objective.
Yeah.
And otherwise it's pointless, meaningless, and can even get in the way. So talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I think what happens a lot of times is people have this favorite color, or they see somebody else's logo and go, oh, I love that logo, and they want to play off that. Or they'll get one of these branding 99 designs and send everything out, and then it's almost like they get overwhelmed, and so they're trying to pick through what they like without thinking about what they do, and thinking about what is this going to tell the customer, okay? So there are colors. I mean, they don't ever look at color theory. They don't look at those kind of things. And so, if you want to be a trustworthy brand or a strong brand or, say something that you're going to be dynamic, then those are all different colors that you want to look at. And I think working with someone that understands what do you want to say to your customer, to your client. The other thing is when you roll up, all right, and you've got a brand and it's branded one way on your website, your truck is branded another way. I mean, I've done these website reviews and literally found up to 5 different brands for one company. And it's because, the guy that did the wrap wanted to change it because it looked a little bit better on the truck. Well, okay, and then the uniform looks a little bit better this way, and so that there's no continuity.
Right.
So so those are the 2 things that really bother me, is when you are, I'll just take my wife for example. When she was developing for interior design, in the beginning she worked with a lot of builders, and so her initial brand wasn't masculine, but it was definitely more masculine than what she has now. Because as the market here changed, she found herself working with more and more female homeowners, and she's really fallen in love with that. And so she has now changed her brand and her logo to actually elicit more of those type of people that she wants to work with.
Right.
So it really is, what do you want to say in the world?
Yeah. What is your objective as a business, and how do you use the brand to accomplish that?
Exactly.
Rather than, here's my brand and this is what I love, and it's up to you to figure out how to make that connect.
It's a backwards thing to me to just say, oh, I love, because if it was all about what I loved, everything would be orange.
Yeah. Right. Well, and if it was, it's not just about pretty. It's not just about having something that looks just perfect, because the difference between a logo that's 80% serviceable and one that's like 100% there, that last 20% is mostly wasted time and effort, because that additional 20% doesn't serve the objective of the business, which is to make money, to be seen and known in the industry or in that market, and standing out. And that last 20%, that's where all the money gets spent. That's the
Yes.
difference between a local service business brand and, say, a big Roto-Rooter type brand or something that's known nationwide. That last 20% is not necessary for most businesses.
Yeah, and I think what Kimble mentioned is really, really important, to have all the different elements for your brand, to be able to have it, where you can put your brand lengthwise. You can have a nice square.
Yes.
And
Different
and
versions,
different-
but consistency
consistent,
between them.
yes. The same color palette. And this is another thing. I've seen the same brand with 4 or 5 different colors.
Sure.
And it's like, so you
Well,
just kind of get lost in
sure.
it and go, okay, what are you?
Yeah.
So that's really, to me, there's a consistency issue. There's a transferable issue to tell me what you do. What do you want to elicit from your client?
Right.
Pay attention to and be intentional about what you want.
Yeah.
I think that's my big thing.
That's good. And that's all the visual part of the brand, but there's so much more to a brand than just the visual part. If there's no connectivity if people can't connect your visual brand to their experience of you, which is the intangible brand, then they're going to have trouble understanding how to relate to you, and that
Absolutely.
incongruity can totally mess up your ability to grow.
So here's the other thing. Everybody looks at branding, they just base it on the logo and maybe the tagline. But I think branding is your entire website, the content that you have on there. If you are positioning yourself as an XYZ company and you don't show up at the home
Yeah.
and show yourself to be XYZ company, it's a brand misconnect.
Yeah.
You
can say all that stuff on your
Yeah.
website, but the consumer says, hey, show me, don't tell me.
Yeah, exactly. So just having a beautiful logo doesn't elicit a beautiful experience.
That's it.
So you have to be, and it's got to be congruent.
Yes.
And let me tell you, when you have a congruent experience like that, people don't forget who you are.
That's it. It's now I have an identity I recognize, but it's all of the feelings that the company gave me that are now associated with that visual brand.
That's right.
Right now,
That's
it's
right.
every time I see that logo, I go, and I can attest to this. And this is not a plug. Okay, they're not an advertiser of our site, but I'm going to talk about a brand that you and I both love, and you're going to laugh because it's a bank. I don't know if a single person, usually the banking decision that you make is, and this is a personal bank, not a business bank. Usually your choice about your personal bank is made because it's like, well, they're the least evil of all of the different ones that I've ever been with.
Yes.
So that's why I stay with them.
That's it.
But this particular bank that we work with is USAA. And they're out of San Antonio. They specialize in military families. I never served in the military, but I have family that did, and as a result, I'm able to have this bank. And they are by far the best bank I have ever worked with.
Yep, by far.
You have them too.
I've been with them 32 years.
They're incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, to the point that every time I'm driving down the road and I see a USAA claims adjuster, because they do a lot of insurance too, the USAA claims adjuster car drives by, or I see one or see their logo somewhere, and I'm like, USAA! Oh my gosh, I want to honk my horn. And,
Yeah.
I'm crazy about these people.
Yeah.
Their logo has nothing to do with how crazy I am about them.
Right.
It's just that
service.
logo is loaded with meaning for me because
Yeah.
of the service they've provided to me and my family, sometimes in a couple of tough spots back in the early days. And the way they treated us was beyond what any bank, I think, has ever, done.
Oh, let me tell you, when I was going through all the financial ilk that my wife and I went through after the big crash and all that mess,
Yeah.
and I was in mortgages, and the mortgages, thing tanked. Yeah, they stood by us 150%. I'll never leave that bank.
Yeah.
And it's because of the service. And that's the opportunity that every single business owner has. You have that opportunity to develop those kind of relationships with your customers.
Yeah.
The question is, are you doing it? Are you taking advantage of the opportunity that you have in front of you?
Yeah.
That's the question.
So coming off this conversation with Kimble Bosworth about branding and promotional, it's not all about products. It's not all about visual. That's an important part of the discussion. But if you ever forget that the brand experience that people have with you is the most important part of what your brand really is, the way you are branded, right? Branded by other people as a caring organization or as trustworthy or as on time and, valuable or whatever it is. That's the most important thing to safeguard. Don't ever forget that.
Man, and I think we just leave it right there.
Okay. Well, I've got some announcements and some feedback I want to share. I want to say thanks to their name is funny again. This seems to be a common thing with Apple. This person's review, this is a new review we just got, and their name is Aldi Grocery Shopper, I guess from the Aldi chain of grocery shopping. I went and looked, and they left one other review besides this review for us, and it was for the Aldi grocery app. And so I guess that's when they entered their name as Aldi Grocery Shopper, and it's just now their name forever on Apple. I guess it can be changed. I don't know. But whoever you are, Aldi Grocery Shopper, I may see you in the aisles because I shop there too. But we want to say thanks for your 5-star review. You said it's about growth. If you want to grow your company, this is a no-brainer. This is not just a hobby for Carter and Taylor. They have a real passion for helping small business owners grow, and they are good at it. Listen up. Thanks.
Thank you.
That made me smile. Got a big grin today when I saw that. Thank you so much for leaving that. And if you're listening and you'd like to let us know how we're doing, how we've impacted you or your business, made you better at what you do, we'd love it if you'd take a minute to leave a review for us in iTunes. More reviews in iTunes means that we're able to serve more listeners and keep this project going and growing. So thanks for doing that if you would. Also, don't forget you can download our free show app. It's available in the Apple App Store or from Google Play. It's got great content in there every week, new episodes as well as bonus content and some special offers like the one from Closing Commander today. You'll find that link in our free app as well as the show notes. But most of all, just come hang out with us over in the Blue Collar Proud Nation Facebook group. Do a search, find us there. We'll let you right into the group. Hang out with us. Also, you can find out about all the other places where you can connect with us by simply going to bcpshow.com/connect. That's going to do it for this episode of the Blue Collar Proud Show. As always, Taylor and I want to thank you so much for joining us and listening in. We also want to thank the people that make this show happen every single week. That would be Aaron Blaze, our technical director, Jessica Wynn, our show coordinator, and Jonathan Sanders, our community manager. Until next time, remember this. It takes the same blood, sweat, and tears to build a business that you end up hating as it does to build one that you're truly proud of. So why not do it right? Build it the Blue Collar Proud way. See you soon.
The Blue Collar Proud Show is a production of the Blue Collar Proud Network.